Escaping domestic abuse is terrifying and traumatic enough. When kids are involved, it's even worse. Now imagine getting through all of that and then having to take court-ordered parenting classes with your estranged, abusive spouse. As GBH News Deputy Investigative Editor Jennifer McKim explains in a new report, that's been the reality for some parents in Massachusetts who ended up among the hundreds of divorced and estranged couples who've taken the controversial and costly high-conflict parent education course in the past decade. Jennifer joins me now, along with Jamie Sabino, Deputy Director of Advocacy for the Massachusetts Law Reform Institute. So, Jennifer, this is a very powerful story. Tell me, what is this program all about? What's the purpose of this course?
Thank you so much for having us. Basically, this is a course that is required by some judges in the court for parents who are supposedly high conflict, meaning they spend a lot of time in the court, and basically they're saying, because of what you're doing, you are harming your children. So we are going to require you to take a class so you can get along better, and that would be better for the children. It would limit toxic stress, etc. That is purportedly the reason behind this class.
Jamie, what's an example of what they're teaching?
The idea of this is that there's just this high conflict. If you get along, everything will be fine. So you have to support your other parent. You have to put a picture in your kid's bedroom of their other parent. You make food and bring it over. For parents,
potentially you bring food to your abuser.
Right. And so for parents who are trying to figure out how to live on their own without their abuser controlling them, how to parent on their own, suddenly to be bringing food is traumatizing.
So we have a quote here from a woman who wrote to GBH News about her experience. She says, "I was instructed to write down the ways that I trigger my abuser's anger and what I can do different in the future so my children would enjoy better academic and emotional outcomes. I was tempted to write down breathing." It's pretty startling. Seems like a very, perhaps, good motivation to make things smoother for the children. But in this case, it seems like such a glaring error.
So several of these women reached out to me, and it's not a beat I cover a lot, but I heard about it, and what was stunning and startling is that these judges are requiring parents, sometimes when there are active restraining orders and not some past domestic abuse, but active restraining orders, still required to be in a physical class or remote during the pandemic, and sometimes even being put in breakout rooms without any type of supervision. And so that these women were really startled and frustrated and scared and reached out and said, someone needs to know what's going on.
So, JB, this seems to contradict common sense, perhaps a collective body of wisdom. How does this become a course that's ordered by a judge?
So there are some judges who seem to have difficulty separating out what might be a high conflict divorce. It's not even clear that that's an identifiable category from cases where there's been domestic abuse. There's a great deal of study that many judges don't believe women in court. Many judges believe the domestic abuse claims are being done to get a leg up in the divorce, and it's really not that bad, particularly people who've been together for a long time. Well, if it was that bad, why didn't you leave 10 years ago? And have not a lot of understanding of coercion and control and those issues. I would also add this is really shaming for many women because they're being told, you should be co-parenting and you should be doing this, and I can't do this with my abuser. I can parallel parent, I can do other things, but I'm ashamed because I'm not doing the right parenting here.
So, Jen, explain, how did this get attention? We know that Boston College Law Lab wrote a white paper, a policy paper on the issue, but how did this all come about?
So these women who were being forced into this class, started to talk to each other and started to say, I'm feeling terrible, you're feeling terrible, we need to do something. They started reaching out to lawyers all over the state, and they found this Boston College legal lab that agreed to take a look at it. And basically they worked on this report. Claire Donahue is a professor there, spent I think about several months, if not a year, working on this project with students, another researcher, and basically they came out with findings substantiating some of these women's concerns. And another part of the problem, which they bring out about in the white paper, is that it's confusing that these women are being required to take this class with their separate divorcing parents when there was a statewide mandatory class that the Probate and Family Court suspended over 2 years ago because they were concerned that there was not enough oversight and they were concerned that there was not proven benefits of the class. So these women are like, but wait, why are we being required to take a class when the state has suspended the other one?
And it's a very expensive class. It's kind of startling, $900, which would be
parent.
Per parent, a struggle for a low-income parent, no waiver.
And there's no waiver because it's not a court run, supervised. For the court-mandated parenting groups, which have come back or coming back online, they're like $50, and if you have an affidavit of indigency that you're poor, you get that waived. Not for these.
So, and there would be the sense that I better do this or I might lose custody? Is that
well,
the sense?
Absolutely. I'm already being targeted as a bad parent. And if I don't do this, well, I am not collaborative. I am not willing to be a co-parent. That makes me a bad parent. And that makes me trying to separate my children from their father. So that there's a huge amount of pressure to do this.
Some of the judges even said, you know, don't come back till you finish the class. And what the white paper found through the stories of women, that it can take months and months to get signed up for the course, take the course, and in the meanwhile they're just waiting and wondering and afraid. So there's a lot of reasons why there were concerns.
And if going through this course, an actual incident of domestic violence occurs, that victim is not going to go restraining order because, oh, the judge is going to think I'm trying to derail this course. So it actually puts people in danger.
Wow. So there was a course, you mentioned, another parenting course, which was suspended by the state. Jamie, tell us why.
So they suspended it because they found there were a number of different vendors, and so people were having different experiences.
This was a class not in high conflict cases?
No, just for everybody who was going through a divorce, certain paternity cases. And it was, divorce is stressful, and you're going to need to, you know, be parenting together. But it was very unevenly done, and there was a lot of the shaming that people felt. So Chief Justice John Casey of the Probate and Family Court said, we can't do that. They stopped that. They spent a couple of years looking for another vendor. They picked a vendor. You know, no program is perfect, but they one that they felt legal service lawyers still had some concerns about it, particularly getting a waiver if you're in domestic violence. The Probate and Family Court has been very responsive. They have met every one of our demands for how you outline this. It's a $50 course. It's 4 or 8 hours. You do it online without the other person there.
So how does this other course escape this kind of scrutiny? It seems...
So basically these women wrote a letter to the Chief Justice to complain about it, and they sent me back the response that basically said, we understand there are concerns, we are going to look into it, but this is not overseen by the court, it's not regulated by the court, and that judges have the prerogative to ask parents to do things in court that they can't stop them from doing.
Most of the things they ask parents to do are in areas that have some regulation. They can ask, or almost require, you don't get parenting time, parent who's been abusive, until you take a certified batterers intervention program. But those programs are certified by the Department of Public Health. They have a curriculum that's understandable.
So there's scrutiny normally when there's... But so tell me, is this a typical thing that states do, this educational component to rectify something in a household?
Well, the mandated program that everybody takes, about 17 states have it. There's questions about how valuable it is. But as long as it is low impact, so to speak, not expensive, not a huge amount of time, and you can get waivers, and the court is making it clear that if you have a language issue or domestic violence or other things, I believe other states do engage in judges sending people to these supposedly high conflict thing. And cases with domestic violence are often misunderstood as high conflict. Whoa, there were 200 filings in this case. Maybe they don't get along. Well, that's because of the abuse. Yeah. Abusive litigation, using the courts to control people, that's a real problem. And yet they get misidentified.
Jen, at this point, this is a white paper, all this information that came out of Boston College's paper, policy paper. What happens to that?
So Claire Donahue, who is the lead author of it, said basically she wrote it hoping that people would discuss it, that she was going to send it to the court and she was going to send it to William James College, and hoping that it will prompt discussion about the use and benefit of these courses. She herself said it had big questions. She said it's like going to the class of like good parenting, and that she had her own issues. And so hopefully it will prompt more debate.
All right. Well, we will continue to watch it. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.